So no matter what kind of mulch you select, applying it is really the same for all of them. Most important thing is to make sure you're putting your mulch down on some good moist soil. You never want to apply mulch to dry soil. So I'm going to check this right here. And I'm seeing that it really could use some water. So I'm going to water this down real fast here. And you can see some of the water is good sinking in down toward this boxwood plant. So 3 good handfuls of mulch around each plant is a great way to start. And then smooth it out. And then double check at the base of the plant. This is where the root flare is on larger trees and where the branches meet the ground for the shrub like this boxwood. And you want to leave a couple inches all the way around. That's to make sure that air and light get down into the soil. Otherwise, you will have too much moisture building up on it. And then after you're done, then lightly water again. This makes sure that water is going to permeate the upper part of the mulch, that it's moist all the way down to the plant, so you don't have a stressed plant. So you have 2 basic kinds of mulch to choose from, and that's really going to be the inorganic ones, which is rocks or pebbles or glass, and the ones we typically think of, which will be the organic ones. Those are made of shredded barks or pine straw. So here's nature's. Nature's mulch is going to be leaves, of course. And everyone says, leave your leaves. And the reason why, because it's free mulch. And this is what nature does to help cover the soil, protect it, and then break down. So after the leaves break down, you will have this wonderful smelling mulch that comes from nature. This is what's breaking down now and helping to supply nutrients to the plants. For inorganic mulches, the easiest one to come up as an example is going to be this pea gravel. This is what I use. This is great for succulents. You want to have probably just about an inch, maybe an inch and a half of something like an inorganic mulch, like this pea gravel, that will help protect succulents but not keep so much moisture in like all the organic ones do. So at North Haven Gardens, there are multiple choices for you for mulches. And we have several favorites that have good uses. So the most basic one's probably going to be hardwood mulch. Hardwood mulch is the darkest of them. It's going to be a brownish black. And this one is going to break down the fastest in the garden situation. This is what you want. You want to be able to have it make soil a little faster. If you wanted to pick something that's going to last a little longer, then that would be pine straw or pine needle mulches. And these are great. They're slightly acidic, which is what a lot of plants like. And you also have something that's going to be light and airy. So a lot of times on something like pine straw, I recommend adding another inch. So we go from maybe 3 to 4 inches of pine straw when you're first applying it. And this is only good in a vegetable garden situation. It helps keep strawberries, melons, or squash off the soil, and you have higher quality harvests. If you want something that's going to last even a little longer, then it's going to be cedar. Cedar normally has a reddish brown color. This particular bag is looking a little bit darker, but cedar, of course, has that wonderful fragrance. And as long as the fragrance is there, it's going to be repelling insects. And then it will last you longer. So if you'd like, maybe you put this on your paths between your garden space. Also, another good choice. One that I like if you're going to be maybe using in containers or maybe in an area with more acidic loving plants, and that's pine bark. And pine bark is a little bit more decorative. You can see the pieces here. Our version of pine bark doesn't have the really large pieces that may float away. This is what you're looking for in a good pine bark mulch. This has different size pieces, and this will lock into place and help conserve moisture just like all the others. So why mulch? You hear it all the time, and we say it's our mantra. We mulch, mulch, mulch. We repeat it 3 times. We make sure the mulch is always out there on the plants. And the major reason is, of course, to make sure we have enough moisture on the plant. It doesn't get too dry or it doesn't get too wet. So mulching helps protect mostly from moisture. Another major thing that it does too is, of course, keeps weeds down. So you want to apply your mulch and making sure that there are no weeds, but it makes it also easier if weeds do pop up a little bit later, they'll be easy to pull them out. The next thing that it really does is it makes sure that you fill soil. Long term, this is what nature does. It lets leaves and things decompose onto the top of the soil, breaks things down, and feeds nutrients to the plants. Another great benefit for mulch, especially during the hot summer months, is going to be keeping temperature down. it keeps the soil from 10 to 15 degrees cooler, which is amazing than the outside air, so plants don't cook during the summer. And of course, during the winter too, it keeps plants warmer. It keeps them from getting too cold. So temperature is another major benefit of applying mulch. So when do you apply your mulch? Well, I like to say you want to check your mulch level at least 3 times. So early spring, you want to make sure that the mulch layer is there to get the plant prepared for the growth that's coming up in April and May. And then the next time I want you to make sure you check is early summer, obviously. Here's where summer's coming and all that heat, and you want to have the plants ready to go and make sure that your mulch is prepared. The next time is really going to be late fall. That's when the plants really need some protection from the cold temperatures. So remember at least those 3 times. If you can add on a 4th time to make sure you check it again right before summer is a really good idea. So when would you not want to mulch? There actually are times when you don't want to mulch. So you're never going to mulch on areas that you're going to seed. For instance, if you're going to be planting some wildflowers, you don't want to put a heavy layer of mulch because a lot of these kinds of seeds are very small and they need a little bit of light and they need more air up top of the soil to actually start germinating. Same thing would happen if you're in a vegetable garden situation. You want to mulch after your plants get to be a good transplant size, maybe 6 to 8 inches. Don't be mulching until your seeding is done. And believe it or not, there's another time when you don't want to mulch, and that's really if you're wildscaping. So if you're really interested in protecting our bees, a lot of our bees that are Texas native are going to be solitary ground nesting bees. If you have too much of a heavy layer of mulch, they won't have a place to build their nests. So there are times when you don't want to use mulch. But most of the time, remember, this is your key to plant success. This is your final step right after you plant. How much to apply on mulch? This is something that's always going to be on your mind when you get those bags together and you need to get some coverage underneath your plants. So, nature, leaves, leave your leaves, as we always say. You can make piles of leaves on top of your beds, especially if you're desperate at the last minute and here comes the cold front and you need to get some plants protected. Pile leaves up on top of the plants, and a light layer with this kind of material is not a problem. 3, maybe 4 inches. Your typical mulches, something like hardwood, is usually going to be about 3 inches of mulch. You don't want to go too heavy on any one mulch, but a good 3 inches, especially on new plants, is what you're looking for. If you use something like pine straw mulch, pine straw is so light by its nature, you can add another inch on. You can go an additional 3 to 4 inches possibly on something like pine straw. Cedar, same thing, we can use it at 3 inches. Something like pine bark, light amounts are really good. And then if you're using an inorganic mulch, like these pebbles or any kind of glass or maybe gravel, you want about a 1 to 1.5 inches only. And this would be used on something like your succulents, plants that are xeric, that really like dry conditions, because this will stay dry. This is great on lavender, for instance, and all those plants that like to be dry at their feet. So here's some additional benefits about mulch that you don't always hear all the time. And one is you're creating healthier soil when you mulch. So that's really going to keep soil-borne diseases down. You have healthier plants long term. Another one is, especially if you're using in a vegetable garden situation and you want to use something like pine straw mulch, it really helps keep fruits and vegetables off the ground and it's less likely for pests to bother them. So you have cleaner, nicer, high-quality fruit. And a major one, of course, is erosion. Once you have mulch on top of the soil, it allows the water to go all the way through and doesn't wash away any amounts of your soil and all your hard work that you use to put your plants in. Another one is really going to be the hardening of the soil. Believe it or not, when rain hits soil and it's bare, it actually makes the upper surface harder and moisture can't penetrate. So keeping that mulch layer on top of the soil gives you all these additional benefits and makes sure that moisture gets to your plants, which is really the main primary reason we're trying to mulch in Texas.